Welcome to episode 57, Boomer Guitar Sessions, and today what we are going to do is make music theory fun. Now here's the thing, like back when I was a kid, I remember the Aaron Shear music theory book was the only music theory book guitar players like myself had, and it was boring because I wasn't playing counterpoint music. I knew Bach, Spare, and E minor, but that was not really that wheelhouse in music. It's like, what I'm trying to say is I didn't like music theory, and I feared it, and I disliked it. I had a distaste for it, and that's because it was represented and presented in a weird, wrong way for a lot of my years. And then I had a teacher like Scott Anderson who changed me. He gave me a bigger view of it. Teachers at Berkeley, I got a better view, and it's like that's what we're going to discuss today. How do you make it fun? Because if it's not fun, you're not going to use it. If you're not going to apply it, you're not going to put it into your practice sessions. We want to get the most out of our practice sessions, so music theory, in my opinion, has to be involved. Okay, because for me, it is never about just playing the tablature off the printed page. That's not what musicians do. That's what some people do. But when you are really trying to develop yourself, you want to understand the music that you're playing. And so we're going to talk about music theory and how to make it fun. And my solution is relatively simple, I think. I'll be as simple and direct as possible. Apply music theory to music you like. Understand music, the rules of music, how music works in the music that you listen to, and importantly, the pain points and the problems you're having with guitar, with understanding the music that you like. What is stopping you from growing? Those are like your pain points. Like, what can I get beyond? Okay, how can music theory help you with that? So that's what we're going to discuss today. We're discuss about making it fun, applying it to something that you like. So now this came from a YouTube post, somebody on a YouTube group that said, I'm 30 years old, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm 30 years old, and how do I make music theory fun? Because I don't have time for it not to be fun. And I get that, I understand that. And it's a great question. Okay, so what we're going to do, music theory is fun. This guy, he said it like, well, I like heavy metal. So heavy metal has no music theory. Yeah, every style of music. If you have a teacher that has the ability to analyze, everything can be understood through music theory, not just the stuff that is classical or jazz or whatever. Okay, so in heavy metal, some of the things we need to know about heavy metal. If we were to trace its history, it goes back to Black Sabbath, in my opinion. Okay, they were the big bang of heavy metal. And what they did is they were trying to make music that was reflected of the times. It was like Vietnam War. It was like generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. They were basically trying to write music that both reflected the times that they were living in, but also scared the pants off of people who went to see themselves, because they noticed that people will go see movies like Black Sabbath. That was a movie first. They would go see Black Sabbath and get the bejesus scared out of them, and it was like a horror film would do that to people, and they would go in hordes. So that's part of how they became. So how did they get their sound? How did they sound intimidating, scary, horrific, whatever? The first ingredient was probably the minor key. Okay, when I say something's in a minor key, we have major, we have minor, we have dominant. Those are the three keys that we deal with in the guitar collective, and variations within them. But major, minor, and dominant. Metal guys, a lot of them only know minor keys. Okay, so that is what we're going to talk about today. How do we make it fun? So what is the natural minor scale? So the natural minor scale is, you can construct it from a pattern of half steps and whole steps. So it's going to be a single whole step followed by a half step 2 whole steps, followed by half steps and another 2 whole steps. So what that means is if I start on a note, say E for example, everything we're going to do is in E for reasons I'll explain. If I go a whole step, then followed by a half step, 2 whole steps, followed by a half step, another 2 whole steps, and that's the E natural minor scale. Now, metal musicians also, it's a riff-based music, and they center around minor keys, but they also center around minor keys around open strings. And what that means is the open string on a guitar, the riffs come from so riffs, the open string is a lot of the times the part of the riff of the song. So it's a minor key, but it's also around an open string. And in both of these examples, that was E minor. So the first step that I would do, if you call yourself a metal musician and you want to be a metal musician and you want to understand this music that you love, the first thing you want to do is understand that the key of E minor has 1 sharp. When it is in key, it is F sharp, and it's E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. 1 sharp. Okay? And that, how do we know that? Because those were the notes I just played. Okay? So that's the first little bit of music theory information. Now we can find those notes all over the fingerboard, and it would be good for us to do that. And we're going to use that in this lesson. Okay, so next thing we need to know is, say, like if we're playing acoustic guitar. What chords are used in this key? So it's going to be E minor, it's going to be G major. These are going to be common chords, E minor, G major, and you want to learn everything you can about this stuff. E minor, G major, C major, and D major are in there. A minor is in there. B minor is sometimes in there, but a lot of times what they'll use instead of B minor is B7. That's another kind of minor. All right, so with that said, all those chords are common chords. Another chord that we see often is the D/F sharp. Now, even in heavy metal music is not just power chords. Sometimes we have the we have a lot of the broken chording, a lot of the kind of the metal ballad things. So you want to learn the bigger chords. Okay. So that is the next step. So learning some of the open chords, learning a lot of songs in the key of E minor, and recognizing that it's in the key of E minor. Okay, like Heart of Gold by Neil Young. Let's see. Boulevard of Broken Dreams of Green Day. That's 1,000 songs. There's some standard progressions in the key of E minor. Okay, so next step is when we think of heavy metal, we think of power chords. Okay, so what can we do with power chords? Okay, so if we have an E, what is a power chord but a root and a fifth? Now, what I would then do is I would like, okay, let's figure out the power chord scale. So that's E, D, C. That's a common progression. All right, so then it goes to A. Or B, then A, and then we can do a G, and then I can move my first finger down a fret. I call this the D/F sharp, or the half step substitution chord. So those are power chords. And now, how many songs do we know that are nothing more than that? Now that, by the way, this thing that I'm doing here, like, that's called pedaling, where we go back and forth on the open string. And as I said, a lot of heavy metal is open string rooted because we get that pedaled note in there. That's a part of the riff. Okay, so with that said, next step, I guess, okay, so we have the power chord, maybe analyzing some of the earliest of heavy metals. So as I said, Black Sabbath to me started it also, so that we have F sharp and everything else is natural. So what kind of riffs do we have that? So the riffs are going to be around any kind of different heavy metal groove that is an E minor, using E minor. So this is a backing track I created. So So that is all. That's natural as a natural minor riff. So the natural minor. Okay. So if you want to do just stuff that was in key, historic heavy metal stuff, listen to lots of Judas Priest, listen to lots of Iron Maiden, and they do leave key, but it's like that seems like a starting off spot. And then what we can also do, even still in key, we can harmonize. So this is the power chord. We can harmonize with more things than just fifths. So this is the fifth. What I can do instead is thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths. That's all in the key of E minor, but what I'm doing is harmonizing each of these chords. And then in an earlier episode here, we call watchtower changes, which are these. Okay, so. Harmonizing with other notes. The C chord has that F sharp in it. When we go up to the fourth, there's a sharp 4. And then what I would do, like in songwriting, when I was a kid, I would get together with my buddy if anybody remembers Matt Mead, what I loved about his drumming is he was a clock. He would lay into a groove. It would be, the vibe was there. The clock, he was a clock, and like he wasn't the guy from Rush, but the guy from Rush did not inspire me to write. So something like this. So the deal is what we try to do is we take the concepts that we're learning, so with that different we can harmonize off of more notes than just your power chords. That's music theory. Okay. So next step. Okay, so we have power chords, we have the in key stuff and power chords, we have open chords we've been talking about. Half step substitution can be done wherever there's a half step. I can move that, make that little movement. Okay, so that little half step movement. Okay, also the rhythms I'm using. Like if it's more kind of like old school Metallica. They used lots of 16th notes. Okay, so the rhythms and the rests you're using, all that's in the music theory realm. So you can study those. These are all rabbit holes you can go down to improve your playing. You learn how to do some of that 16th stuff. That gets you into like the And Justice for All period and the Ride the Lightning and the Master of Puppets, all that kind of stuff. You hear that in the music that you love. Now, to me, this is all kind of like college. I don't know what kind of heavy metal you like, because you might like lots of new stuff that I don't even know about. But this is like kind of like a base for all of that stuff. If you understand how to play in a minor key, it can be spread out to lots of things. Okay, so with that said, mapping out, we play octaves. That's another thing. Okay, we can play that in our rhythm parts and our lead parts. Okay, next. So one of the things we want to think about also is like, okay, as I said, we talked about Sabbath a little bit. Who else can we check out? So mapping out your E natural minor scale and your open chords and your power chords, and thinking about creating melodies. If we're in a key of E minor, what music theory affords you is if I know something has one sharp and all the rest are natural notes, if I play those notes, I'm not going to embarrass myself. And that is the thing that I love about music theory, that if we go on stage, we don't want to embarrass ourselves. We don't want to be guessing. It's like when I go to a doctor, I don't want him to be guessing at what he needs to do in order to fix my ailment. Okay, that's the difference between like somebody who wants to be professional about things and somebody who doesn't. You go on stage, you know what you're doing. So for something like that, so Sabbath was ring one is like this is kind of let's listen to this. Stuff was okay, so a little bit of minor pentatonic up here that I can play in a minor key, but a lot of that was a natural minor scale. So I'm mapping out my minor scales all over the fingerboard and honing in. So again, my number one bit of advice in music theory in heavy metal is really just hone in on the key of E minor first, because that is in thousands of songs. It's like the history of it's this E minor, and then when you get into the drop D stuff, it would be D minor. So, but so something like there it is. So the idea is not just playing what is it written on the tablature. That is never, it was never a goal of mine just to do that. We don't stop there. We want to be able to elaborate. We be able to repurpose. Okay, so if we were to say we learn our scale positions. So here's a scale position. It's a favorite scale position of mine. Seventh position, E natural minor scale. Just by learning that, we can practice playing melodically over top of E minor things. If we wanted to, the other thing we can do is we can think horizontally. Arrange all the notes in the key of E minor up and down like horizontally on your strings. Okay, so we can play this way, we can play this way, and then eventually, what all the good guys do is they're all over the place, and it's seamless. Okay, so taking that, then we take all that thought that I just gave you, and we take it to a backing track. Let's see. Not that backing track. All right, so I take it to a backing track, and I just spend an hour and a half. What can I get out of this? Okay, I'm not trying to play what's on the tablature. I'm not trying to play. I'm trying to, we can do that, and certainly that's part of it, maybe, but we don't stop there. We are creative. Guitar players are creative. So that would be something like this. Let's check it out. So I'm just going off. I'm just like practicing my thing, and it's like listening to guys that play it and how do they interpret this, and how do my favorite players play it? How do my favorite players use music theory? So if your guy is Alex Skolnick, how does he use this stuff? How does he phrase? How does Slash phrase? How does Tony Iommi use scales and patterns and phrasing? Okay, so music theory, E minor, branch out to A minor, branch out to D minor in heavy metal, but also, as I said, listen to your favorite players and how do they do all this stuff. Learn your fingerboard, all the stuff in your fingerboard. Arpeggios. Okay, when I say an arpeggio. Okay, so that's an arpeggio. You put those into your solos and you start sounding like like Yngwie and like Marty Friedman and all those kind of guys, and Kirk Hammett, even old school Kirk Hammett used it stuff. So with that said, I think that's it. I think to check out these classic, some of the classic stuff. Try to get that in your fingers and then build on, and then you take in what you like. Start with E minor. Learn everything you can about it. Learn to play loud, learn to play soft. Okay? That's it. This is Rod, Boomer Guitar Sessions, episode 57. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Any questions at all. It doesn't have to be about this video. Put them in the comments. This is what I want to learn. I'm here for you. Tell your friends. Boomer Guitar Sessions. See you next time. Enjoy the process. Hi, this is Rod from Boomer Guitar Sessions. I personally wanted to thank you for being part of our community. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see more of it, please hit the like, subscribe, and share. And this helps me spread my musical messages to all over the world. Thank you. I appreciate you. And always remember,